In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. Today we are going to dig into the idea of data security, both for intellectual property and personal identifiable information, and look at some of the current solutions and what the future of data security and LLMs and other AI tools looks like. My guest today is a second-time guest, Hunter Jensen. He's the founder and CEO of Barefoot Labs, where they are building, under his direction, a secure, self-hosted AI infrastructure for companies that have to control privacy and compliance. Hunter, thanks for taking some time today to dig through this with me.
Emanuel, thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, I think it was April was the last time we talked, so that's 4 months ago, which it seems like light years in the AI development space. Everything's changing hourly, I think.
Yeah, I couldn't begin to tell you what I said 4 months ago, and most of it is probably not true anymore.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, you were just getting ready for an initial deployment of the Compass solution with an attorney firm and around their IP protection. So that's why I love to have you back on, so we can talk about what you learned from that deployment and what you're seeing in the security space.
Yeah, I have learned a lot. One of the things that I knew, but I still have been learning, is that law firms are an unusual entity, and they don't function like a typical business. And learning the ins and outs of how law firms specifically work has been really interesting and really telling. The way that they're structured, the way that compensation works, the way that billable time works is all fairly unique to that industry and that profession, and doesn't always follow the same rules as kind of the rest of business, right? And so that's been a really interesting journey. I've also just learned a lot more generally in working with different companies outside of law in terms of how they want to use AI, what some of their most interesting use cases might be, right. and what their priorities are. That's been really telling as well.
So like the types of projects they're looking to leverage AI for, like what does that look like?
Yeah, that's right. What I've been really stressing with all these various clients is identifying ROI. Where are we going to get a return here? Where are we going to move the needle in terms of revenue or profit or reducing cost, right? And start with the biggest and start working your way down. So inevitably, and this is a marketing podcast, inevitably you start with sales. How can we help with sales? Now, when it comes to generating marketing content, as an example, the need for data security is not really there. I'm finding that marketers don't really care, nor do I especially think they should, right? They just want to use the best tools that are available.
And we want to know how to structure whatever we're doing in order for it to be found very easily by the generative engines.
Exactly. So a walled garden is not necessarily what a marketer needs.
No.
But sales is a slightly different thing. And there are many different use cases within sales where privacy and confidentiality is important. Sure. And, I'll give you an example. a defense contractor that we've deployed with, they are dealing with what's called unclassified confidential information, which
Right.
is right. You don't need a security clearance, but you also need to keep it secure and
Right.
it's regulated, right? Um, and so even when they're responding to RFPs, the inputs there are considered unclassified and confidential. So they cannot use ChatGPT to put together an RFP response, right?
Right.
And so what we're seeing is that at this particular defense contractor, it's still early days for us, right? Last time I was on, we hadn't deployed at all. But the estimate here is that they're going to be able to double the number of RFP applications in a single year.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, if they win at the same rate, that's literally doubling their revenue, right? Staggering without hiring anybody.
Yeah. Right.
Just because it takes them, 100 to 200 hours to respond to an RFP, right? And if they can cut that time in half, there are other RFPs that they pass on that they might have gone for had they had the bandwidth. And
Sure.
so, talk about moving the needle, doubling your revenue with a tool, not even more people, is staggering. At the law firm, we're also seeing that when it comes to sales, especially, to kind of like unspool that a little bit more, it's saving them time, right?
Yep.
And what are they doing with that time? Business development, right?
Interesting.
It's a classic attorney issue. You get bogged down in the work and you let biz dev fall off to the wayside.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden you're not busy again and you have to like pick things back up and try to re-engage your network. And it's really inefficient. The way to do it is to spend 6 hours every week on biz dev. And so if we're saving 6 hours a week, which is the estimate at this law firm, that is net new business, right? Now, law firms have an interesting kind of paradox where they bill their hours, right?
So saving time is not necessarily a good thing for them for the top line.
Right. So that's like gut instinct is like, ooh, okay, maybe that's not great.
Yeah.
But that's not really how it's shaking out. The way that it's shaking out is they're using AI instead of paralegals and junior associates, right? And in some cases, like insurance companies, as an example, you can't even bill for paralegals. They consider that administrative overhead, right? And so they're not using it to tackle like very complex legal things. They're using it to do rote tasks that just take a lot of time, like researching through all the old patents or reviewing a contract for specific language or things like that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's saving time that is not necessarily billable and often a cost center for a law firm, right?
Interesting. Yep.
And then it's replacing that with net new business because they have more time for business development, right? And so it's still, I was just talking to a different firm yesterday, and he said you still have to shepherd everything, right? You still have to review everything. As a senior attorney, the time is not spent in the drafting often.
Right.
It's spent in reviewing what your associate did or what your paralegal did, right?
Yeah.
They're
Acting as an editor, right?
Right. They are still doing that work, right? So it's not necessarily reducing their billable hours as much as it's reducing the amount of time that junior people are spending on tasks, which is often a cost.
So then their cases are more profitable in that respect.
Exactly. Right. And so their cases become more profitable, and that drives, the bottom line, right?
Yep.
And their billables don't necessarily go down very much, but their costs do.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Do you have enough data yet to build a case study and start drawing out some ROI projections?
Not quite. Not quite. As can be expected, deploying these things get complicated fast.
Sure.
In particular, like in legal and financial services, the security reviews are extensive. Not only will we go through a security review with the firm and their chief information security officer, their CISO, but we're finding, this was a surprise to me. I did not see this one coming. Their big clients are also doing security reviews on us.
Oh yeah, sure.
So they disclose, hey, we're going to be using this new AI tool. All of a sudden, I'm talking to that client's chief information security officer.
I love it. Yeah, the marketer in me loves that. I'm like, yes, let's talk to all their clients so we can sell to them also.
And so there's been two kind of interesting like spin-wheel effects here, or constellation effect, we'll call it, right?
Yeah.
One is clients. I now get to talk directly to their biggest clients, right? Their small clients, they don't do this. Their big clients do it.
Yeah.
Secondly, a lot of these firms have MSPs, right? They have IT service providers.
Right.
And we work with them to deploy in the client's infrastructure. Oh, guess what? MSPs have a bunch of other clients that would be a very good fit. So MSPs are an excellent channel partner. They're probably our number one channel partner.
I believe.
And so just through the ordinary course of deployment, I'm now getting access to their clients and their MSP, which are all opportunities. So one deployment becomes 10 opportunities, right? And it's wild. So there's been some, as much as I thought and planned and strategized and all of it, there's been just some kind of unexpected bonuses in what we're doing here that's making it expand kind of from all angles. To be totally frank, I'm overwhelmed by my CRM right now.
I love it. Well, that's good. It's what happens when you're first to market with a smart solution.
That's right. It's people are so receptive, and I keep hearing we've been waiting for something like this. So a different law firm, we've been talking to a bunch of them. There's a system out there called Harvey. Very nice, very effective system. And the first thing this guy said to me was, look, we've already talked to Harvey and it doesn't really work for us. We want to own it. We know we need it, but we want to own it. And I was like, you are on the right phone call. That's exactly what we're pitching here, is that you do need to own it. It's really important that you own it. This is going to be the future control center of your business, and you need to own it. And it needs to be custom for you. And it needs, it needs to have all your SOPs and all your data in there, and it needs to be secure, right? And so it's really resonating. Resonating. There's just a certain type of company where it's just a great fit.
So real quick product review. Is it an air-gapped deployment of an LLM, or how does the security work? How are you setting that up?
It's not air-gapped. So the way that we're doing it, it can be air-gapped, but it has not been as of yet. The way that we're doing it, just as an example, let's say they're on Azure, right? Most of these companies are on the Microsoft stack, right?
Right.
And so what we say is go set up a totally fresh new subscription to Azure, right? Okay. Give us access to that. We'll run all of our CloudFormation scripts and whatnot, and get the Kubernetes clusters fired up and get the GPUs online and deploy install the application. And at that point, it lives right there, only in this kind of siloed, subscription tenant, basically. Now,
so is it cloud or is it local?
It's cloud. We have yet to do on-premise. We are offering on-premise, but we find that even really high security type businesses have managed to make it to the cloud at this point. On-premise has become very rare.
Yeah.
But when I say it's not air gapped, it's because we pull data in.
Right.
It can search the web. It can grab files from your document management service. It can pull information from SharePoint or what have you, right?
Right.
What we don't do is send data out. It all stays I like to say within your firewall, which is
Right.
kind of, a little salesy, but in your infrastructure, and we never send the data out.
Right.
And the data is not, a common misconception is that we're training the model with your data. That's not
Right.
how it works. No, very few people are actually training models beyond the foundational AI companies, right?
Right.
We are just bringing your data into the model context for a
Yep.
particular purpose. And then when you're done, it leaves, right? We're not doing long-term memory. It's not something that's getting smarter and more educated about your business as you go. You set
Right.
the context, you do the job that you're here to do, and then you move on, right? Like,
And are your clients able to create custom GPTs and frameworks they can call on consistently?
yeah, so the way that works, a custom GPT is really nothing more than a set of instructions and a set of tools,
Right.
right? That's it. That's
Sure.
all there are. And so we have that same capability inside of this. We call them tasks, but a task is simply system prompt,
Right.
right? And so that's where your SOPs live,
Right.
right? That's how you do the job. That's how we at this firm draft patent applications. Here are some rules.
Yeah.
Here is the regulations that we need to follow, all the rest of it. And so what we're seeing is a growing number of tasks for our clients, right?
Right.
As
Yep.
they discover and come up with new use cases. And that's how we know it's successful, right? That's how we know it's growing within an organization. If we're not seeing usage and we're not seeing additional tasks being created, then that's when customer success gives somebody a call and says, hey, you're having some issues, or can we help you write some system prompts for your tasks? What
Right.
we're doing is very consultative, right? This is not a SaaS product. This is a service with a core product
Yep.
at its base. Everybody gets an account manager. There's a chat, Zendesk chat widget in the bottom right hand corner if you need something, right?
Yeah.
And we're taking like a fanatical support approach to
It's
this.
beautiful. Yeah, that's great, especially on this level of deployment. Are you looking for like mid-market type companies? Like, what's kind of the gross revenue size of a company that can absorb the cost of this?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and we're pretty laser focused on mid market,
Yeah.
10 million revenue up to let's call it 250 or 400, whatever. Um, Lower than that, and it's difficult to absorb the cost. Even if we had a low price point for the license, which we don't really, the infrastructure is costly, right? You need the GPUs, and those are still expensive.
Sure.
And so even if we were like, here's our SMB license fee, it's nice and cheap. Oh, but you also have to spend $1,500 a month on your infrastructure to run this thing. And so
Right.
it kind of cancels them out when you're
Yeah.
below a certain level of revenue. And then on the opposite side, one, there's a million people doing enterprise, and I don't want to compete there.
Sure.
Two, they have the resources to build this internally. Like,
Right.
it would be hard to understand why a large enterprise would want something like this other than just as like a head start. But
Right.
like, Goldman Sachs has GSAI, BAE Systems has one, Cisco has one. They all built them internally because they've got the
Sure.
resources to do it. So
Right.
we're no SMB, no enterprise. We want mid-market only. And there's about 9 verticals that deal in confidential information or are in regulatory environments. Um, and according to ChatGPT, it represents about 40 to 50% of mid-market companies, right?
Yeah. So that's a pretty good. It's probably got a $1 trillion market potential.
Yeah, when I was like doing the business plan, like the numbers kind of seemed silly.
Right.
The addressable market is so large
Yeah.
that it almost like I almost like didn't want to put it on paper because it
It's
like
fantastical. Yeah.
yeah, it like makes me seem like I'm not have my head in the clouds, but it's the math. It's just the
Right.
math, and it's
Yeah.
there, right?
Right. Yeah, well, that's amazing. I guess what has there been anything on the security side or the installation side that surprised you, just in terms of dealing with the LLMs or dealing with the humans or any of that kind of change management part of it?
Yeah, the security, like I anticipated heavy security review, and
Right.
we've built it from the ground up, assuming that on our way to SOC 2 compliance. We actually just got our certification for ISO 27001, which is a
Nice.
big
Yeah.
milestone for us.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, that it's
Yeah.
not easy to do that actually. It's kind of a pain and kind of expensive. But you know, again, the client security reviews, like the end clients, was unexpected, and some of the there is just general distrust of
Yeah.
LLMs, rightly so.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
And so I'll give you an example. Like access control is, we talk about it a lot. We have to make sure that people at an organization cannot access documents that otherwise they're not supposed to access.
Right. Right.
In law firms, that's especially important, right? Attorney B might have a conflict with client A. They cannot see anything, or it's very serious consequences, right? And if you just tell the LLM that, it will not listen sometimes,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so what we've done is make all of that programmatic, like old school code, right?
Uh,
Using their single sign-on and just a relational database, right?
okay.
Like normal software development, or traditional, I guess we're calling it now.
Right.
But what I've been doing my whole career, like we do that because that works, right? We
Yep.
know that
Right.
works, and we don't trust the LLM. We
Right.
don't. And so from the ground up, that has been the ethos, which is we can't trust it. We have to verify everything.
Yeah.
And so that's been working. That's been working really well. We haven't had a single incident or anything like that in terms of security. I didn't think we were going to get pen tested as much as we are, but that's a thing.
Yeah.
Pen testing on our systems, and then again once we deploy it, once we deploy staging before we deploy production, another pen test. So when you're dealing with the kind of larger end of these mid-market companies, you have to factor in like months
Yeah.
of security stuff,
Of testing
of,
before it goes live.
of,
Yeah.
of testing. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then, what we're doing is deploying department by department,
Right.
right? We're not trying any sort of like company-wide deployments to start, because each of them have their unique needs and issues.
Right.
And it's too much for them in terms of change management, and it's too much for us. We're a startup. We don't have the resources to handle all 750 lawyers at once, right? We
For
need
sure.
to
Yeah.
ease into it, especially because we're still in very much a learning phase, right? This is a
Yeah.
brand new thing.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, just one little crystal ball moment. Like, if you look at the landscape, when do you think that this will be accessible for SMB and for solopreneurs and people that have to be concerned about security with the LLMs, but don't have tens of thousands every month to spend?
Right. So what that will take is cheaper hardware, and that is happening fast,
Yeah.
really fast. So like if you have me on in Q1 of next year, I might tell you we're now offering this to SMBs. Like I think within a year, the costs of the GPUs will come down. Additionally, the requirements of the models are going down, right? They're not
Yeah.
just working on making them better and bigger. They're working on making them better and smaller,
Right.
right? With like perfect synthetic data sets that they're trained on. And that's all they need, right? Like, and the new trend now is like you put out your big 80 billion parameter model, and then you have your 7 billion parameter
Right.
model, right?
Right.
And those are really good for most things. And so as that trend continues and we start to see more in the open source world,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be accessible to SMBs. It's not today, unless you have minimum 5K to spend between license and infrastructure, which is a lot for a small business. That's 60 grand a year.
Yeah.
But this time next year, I think we'll be there.
All right. Well, I will invite you back in Q1, and hopefully you'll say yes, because I really appreciate your insight, and I'm grateful for your time today. Of course, we got the Barefoot Labs, and you're on LinkedIn. You do a lot of content on LinkedIn. I love seeing you on there. And so, any other ways for people to get in touch with you?
Just shoot me a note to hunter@barefootlabs.ai and say, I heard you on Emanuel Rose, Marketing in the Age of AI. And as a thank you to you, Emanuel, for having me on, I promise I'll respond. It might take me a little bit of time, but if you don't say that, I might not respond. But if you do, I promise at the very least, I'll respond and give you my thoughts on whatever is on your mind and whatever you're thinking about, or if you want to talk about something. So please do reach out. I encourage you to reach out to me directly. And I love talking about this stuff. It's fun.
Yeah, no, and I love the work you're doing, and thanks for being an innovator in a developing space, and congratulations on your initial success, Hunter.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, you bet. All right, hang on. I'm gonna close the show, and I'll get back with you, and we can say goodbye properly.
All right.
Sorry. Well, there's a few marketing lessons to learn. One is your initial product release. It's always nice if it's in a blue ocean, right, where you're first to market or one of the first to market. Second thing is to continue to innovate your product and your offer so that, like Hunter was describing, it's very hands-on, and the deployments are complete with access to customer service so that they can help support the clients in using the product. And then the beautiful thing of this scenario is that he's got deployments and he's got people who are basically being referred by his clients in order to double check the work, essentially, and then he's turning that into Rolodex material. So lots of great lessons from the marketing, also lots of important reminders from the security side of things. Be aware of what you're feeding the LLMs, and make sure you keep your PII and your IP safe and secure. I hope that you got value from this. I know I sure did. I also hope that today you take some time to track down some AI tools that you can test and get your 5 to 10 hours back of your work week, and that with your time saved, that you continue to upskill, that you spend time with your friends and family, and that you get outside in nature and get away from the screens. This is Emanuel Rose, Marketing in the Age of AI.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.